Hi, my name is Alexandra Cagle. I attend Clear Springs High School, and this is my essay, A Talk Away Keeps the Bell Away. When becoming a new parent, punishing your child can be a very difficult task. Every parent has a different take on disobedience for a child, and the actions that they choose to take can have many different results. Many parents are initially drawn to physical punishments, although, as was depicted in the textbook, physical punishments can have negative effects. When punishing a child physically, the child is way more likely to become aggressive when they're older, and they're often to mirror the behaviors as their parents. Children see what they do. As well as this, it can have more negative effects than positive. It will have taught fear, unwanted results, and increased aggression. So, the question of how to punish a child correctly is posed, or if you should even punish them at all. The textbook describes that there is a difference between a punisher and a reinforcer. A reinforcer is a consequence that strengthens a behavior, whereas a punisher is a consequence that weakens a behavior. Both are consequences, just in different ways, and they are shown to affect cognitive influences. Cognitive influences are your thoughts or expectation. Therefore, these actions can help a child predict the consequences of their actions. I chose this topic of punishment because I think that many people have controversial ideas about it. For example, my parents were punished in a completely different way than they chose to raise me. I think that how you punish your child heavily affects how they grow up to be. So I feel like being more informed on this topic could help me in many different ways. As well as this, it just interests me in total on how punishment can psychologically affect a child. The textbook describes two types of punishers, negative and positive. A positive punisher would be described as someone who administers an aversive consequence, whereas a negative punisher enforces taking away a reinforcing item after unwanted behavior. These punishments can be effective when done immediately following the incident, although negative punishments have actually been found to be more effective. The Pavlok site gives the example of what would happen if you fined a child $50 for every spoonful of ice cream. They explain that if you were to continually penalize for eating ice cream, this negative reinforcement would eventually stop working. You'd be resentful of the constant punishment, and you'd probably switch to cookies or something else. This just highlights the fact that although negative punishments can work, they aid for a short period of time, whereas positive punishments are a long-time reward. I would say often my parents would use negative punishments as a child, and it did help me for a short period of time. For example, whenever I was younger, and I wanted to go hang out with my friends, if I had a contact mark, I was not allowed to leave this house. That made me not want to get a contact mark anymore because I got something that I liked taken away from me. Although, as I grew up, I would say that a positive punishment became more effective. The idea of being rewarded for my actions became more appealing than having something taken away after I've done something bad. It's definitely, I would say, that a negative punishment is more effective for younger children, but every child's different. Aside from positive and negative punishments, a very popular punishment for parents throughout the ages has been spanking. Recently, many articles and media sites have been advising against spanking or hitting your child as a punishment. The American Psychological Association provides multiple articles about punishment and why you should not spank your child. Although spanking has been thought of as a bad technique since the 1960s, rates show that 2/3 of Americans still partake in this punishment. I can say that a lot of my friends and even my parents grew up being spanked. It is definitely very common, especially living in Texas. I feel like that's a normal thing for parents to just whip out the belt and hit their kids when they're not doing the right thing. Although the APA highlights that around the world, 30 countries have banned physical punishment of children in all settings, including the home. This is really surprising to me, as well as the article said that people in America tried to ban physical punishment, although it did not work. In America, it is still perfectly legal. Not in public settings, like teachers are not allowed to hit children anymore, which they used to be able to, but it is not illegal to spank your child at home. Personally, growing up, my parents never resulted in violence whenever I was bad, and I feel like that helped me with relationships very well because don't have any traumatic past from being hit when I was younger, which I feel like a lot of kids could grow up with, that fear that they would be hit after they do something wrong, which is something nobody wants to live with. And I feel like it also just helped me grow up understanding right from wrong without feeling like I was attacked for my mistakes. I was told what I was doing was wrong, and I learned from those consequences, besides getting hit and just feeling like, oh, I want to do it again. I want to get back. I know specifically that, like, someone in my family, like my aunt specifically, has attempted to spank her child after they did something wrong. And after a while, her kids started saying, "Hit me again." This just highlights how unhelpful hitting a child really is. Therefore, many parents need to be informed on the negative effects that spanking can have on behavior and why a change needs to be made. Not necessarily meaning don't punish the child at all, just maybe a different way would be more effective. In conclusion, I learned that the best way to punish your child is to react to the problem with a disciplinary action, not regarding physical contact. I feel like using punishment positively with a healthy mix of negative can result in the ideal behavior for a child. But I also feel like every child works differently. Like maybe for one child, like rewarding them for their good actions could be really good. But maybe for another child, they don't respond the same. And so you need to give them that disobedience. So I feel like it really all depends on the person and how you're going to raise them. But at the same time, I don't think that in any manner hitting a child is going to help them more than it will harm them. I know the articles and textbooks also said that it can really affect their behavior and actually make them more shy, and it's just affecting them a lot more than I think parents realize. Overall, I'm really glad I did more research on this topic because I feel like it will help me to be a better parent and just know more about children and how to respond. Not only with children, but I feel like this is also really good to know for handling your dog. Like if they were to poop in the house, and like instead of yelling at them because they don't really understand, like just show them what's wrong. It can just help in so many different ways. So I really like this topic. Again, I'm Alexandra Cagle. Thank you for listening, and I attend Clare Springs High School.